In the year 8 BC, Augustus Caesar, Rome's first emperor, made a decision that would immortalize his name in the most intimate aspect of human life, time itself. With an imperial decree, Augustus reformed the Roman calendar and renamed the month of Sextilis to August in his honor. Though it might seem like a mere vanity project, the story of this calendar reform reveals much about Augustus's political strategy, his desire for legacy, and his role in reshaping Roman identity. This wasn't just about naming a month, it was about embedding the emperor's greatness into the rhythm of life, ensuring that the memory of Augustus would echo every year for generations to come. Augustus understood that time was a powerful tool, one that could cement his rule and influence the way Romans thought about history, order, and divine favor. This is the story of a month, yes, but it is also the story of a man who transformed not just the Roman calendar, but the very fabric of the empire. The calendar before Augustus. Chaos and confusion. To understand Augustus's reforms, we need to step back and look at the Roman calendar before his time. It had been a chaotic system, plagued by irregularities and inconsistencies. In its earlier versions, the Roman calendar was lunar, with months based on the phases of the moon. However, this system quickly fell out of sync with the solar year, leading to significant confusion. By the time of Julius Caesar, the Roman calendar was wildly inaccurate, and festival dates, critical to both public life and religious observances, were off by weeks or even months. Julius Caesar tackled this issue in 46 BC with the introduction of the Julian calendar, a solar calendar that closely resembles the one we use today. It standardized the length of the year to 365 days, with an additional leap day every 4 years. Though the Julian calendar brought much-needed order, some months still carried names with no meaning beyond their numerical order. One such month was Sextilis, the 6th month of the original Roman calendar, which now corresponded to the 8th month after the reordering of the months. Augustus's rise to power and the need for legacy. By 8 BC, Augustus had ruled for more than 2 decades, transforming Rome from a fragile republic into a powerful empire. But Augustus's reign was not just about political consolidation, it was also about creating a lasting legacy. He understood that symbols and rituals were essential tools of power. Augustus had already begun associating himself with key institutions and events. 1. He restored temples, portraying himself as the restorer of Roman religious life. 2. He commissioned the Era Pacis, Altar of Peace, symbolizing the peace and prosperity of his reign. 3. He had adopted the title Pater Patriae, Father of the Fatherland, presenting himself as the fatherly figure of the Roman people. Renaming a month was a natural next step in this campaign to immortalize his name. Why Sextilis? A month of triumph. Sextilis was not chosen at random. Augustus carefully selected this month because it had been filled with significant victories and events that marked the height of his power. Some of these included: 1. The conquest of Egypt in 30 BC, after the defeat of Mark Antony and Cleopatra, which secured Augustus's position as the unchallenged ruler of the Roman world. 2. His triumphal return to Rome after the victory in Spain and Gaul, bringing much-needed peace to these volatile provinces. 3. Political reforms that further consolidated his control over the Senate and the military. By renaming Sextilis to August, Augustus ensured that the month would forever remind people of his greatness and achievements. The choice of this month was a way of intertwining personal memory with public history, a constant reminder that Rome's peace and prosperity were tied to his leadership. The calendar reform. A political and cultural move. Augustus's decision to rename a month was about more than personal vanity, it was a political maneuver. The Roman calendar was deeply intertwined with public rituals, religious observances, and agricultural cycles. By inserting himself into this system, Augustus symbolically aligned himself with the natural order and the favor of the gods. 1. Reinforcing loyalty. Each time the month of August was named, Roman citizens would be reminded of their emperor's achievements and his divine favor. 1. This reinforced the idea that Augustus was not just a political leader but a sacred figure whose presence ensured Rome's stability. 2. Cultural integration. The calendar reform also played a role in integrating Roman provinces into the imperial system. 2. As the calendar spread to newly conquered territories, the name, August, became part of daily life across the empire, reinforcing Roman identity in distant lands. This move was also a way of following in the footsteps of Julius Caesar, who had earlier reformed the calendar and given his name to the month of July. Augustus's reform ensured that his name would stand side by side with Caesar's, linking their legacies forever. The public response and the Senate's role. Augustus was a master of subtle politics. Rather than simply declaring the renaming himself, he allowed the Senate to propose and ratify the change. This gave the impression that the decision was a spontaneous gesture of gratitude from the people and the Senate, rather than an act of self-aggrandizement. The Roman people largely accepted the change with enthusiasm. Augustus had carefully cultivated a public image of humility, so the renaming of Sextilis did not come across as arrogance but rather as a fitting tribute to a leader who had brought peace and stability to Rome. The legacy of August. A symbol of eternal power. The decision to rename Sextilis as August was part of Augustus's broader strategy to shape the way future generations remembered him. And it worked. Over 2,000 years later, the month of August still bears his name, a testament to his ability to shape the very fabric of time. August would also come to symbolize the golden age of the Roman Empire. Poets, historians, and artists of later generations would associate the month with peace, triumph, and prosperity, perpetuating the image of Augustus as the ideal ruler. Augustus's final years and the calendar's enduring influence. Though Augustus would live for several more years after 8 BC, his calendar reforms marked the beginning of the final phase of his reign. His later years were marked by personal tragedy, the deaths of his chosen heirs, Gaius and Lucius, and increasing isolation from public life. Yet, his influence on Rome and the empire remained unchallenged. The calendar reforms were just one piece of a larger architectural, political, and cultural legacy that would endure long after Augustus's death in AD 14. The calendar he helped shape continued to guide the rhythms of Roman life, serving as a reminder of the emperor who had brought order to time itself. Conclusion. A month to remember. The renaming of Sextilis to August was more than just a calendar change, it was a masterstroke of political genius, a way for Augustus to immortalize his achievements and embed his legacy into the daily lives of his people. By aligning his name with the rhythms of the year, Augustus ensured that every August would carry a subtle reminder of his reign, his triumphs, and his role as the architect of Rome's greatness. This story is not just about a month, it is about how symbols and rituals shape history, and how one man used time itself to define an era. Augustus's legacy lives on, not only in monuments and texts but in the quiet turning of the calendar, year after year, as we move from July to August.